Hello, everybody. Oh, full house. That's great. Yeah, welcome to our masterclass today. Great that you're all here. We are super excited to give you more insights into Scope 3 today. Perhaps I introduce myself super quickly. My name is Stefan. Thank you for the introduction already. Leading our business in Central Europe. And yeah, Watershed is a leading sustainability AI platform. So we are managing a lot of ESG data, carbon emissions in our platform, and help companies globally, more than 800 customers, to really manage, measure, report, and reduce CO2 emissions. We are currently managing more than 3 gigatons of CO2 emissions in our platform. This is, to compare it, more than the UK or the global aviation industry emits a year. And yeah, we help our customers to save time, to be compliant, to pass audits, and we talk about Scope 3 a lot today. And I'm super excited to be here with Camila. Perhaps, Camila, introduce yourself and Heinemann super quickly, please.
All right. So also, as Julius just said, I'm Sustainability Manager at Gebr Heinemann. I'm responsible for our environmental pillar, as we call it. I will speak about it in a second. And yeah, we're a global travel retail company. As it's said in the title, we have over 140 locations across every continent. And at the headquarters in Hamburg, we have our team of 7 people. Mm-hmm. The way we work is we are split in 4 pillars, basically following the logic of ESG. We have 1 environmental pillar, 1 social pillar, and 1 governance pillar. And due to the importance of the value chain, we have decided to add 1, the responsible value chain pillar. And 4 of us are in charge of our topic, and then we have 2 more team members that are just in charge of strategy or big projects, and they support all of us. And maybe something that is super important as well is to mention our ambition, our targets.
Yes.
We're actually aiming to be carbon neutral by 2030 already for Scope 1 and 2, then reduce 50% of our emissions for Scope 3 by 2030 as well. And for 2045, we just wanted to be carbon neutral in all of our scopes. So that's what we're aiming for.
Perfect. And how are these goals influencing or shaping your decisions you are taking day to day?
I think every day, even more, we're just integrating sustainability into our day-to-day business. We're building expertise in each of the technical departments, if that's how it's called, for example, logistics or even our different locations. We have built structures like an environmental steering committee to be able to make decisions happen faster, and that everyone is well informed about what we're doing also from the sustainability department.
Perfect. And I think Scope 3 might be a challenge also for other companies here with complex value chains. I mean, you're operating across 140 locations, more than 100 countries. You have duty-free shops in airports, in ferries, cruise ships, and so on. How do you tackle Scope 3? And what are your main goals here?
I think, the reality is that Scope 3 will always remain a challenge, always remain a complex scope. So the way to tackle it and the way I would suggest it to people is just start with what you have. Mm-hmm. It will never be perfect. You will never have the same quality of data across all of the categories, the same granularity. And I think that's what stops a lot of people or a lot of companies to just start going. So I'd say just start with what you have, and it's a constant process of improving every year.
And your Scope 3 footprint spans across logistics, suppliers, 3.1 sold products, and so on. What is your approach? I mean, when you think about emission factors, spend-based, supplier-specific emission factors, activity-based, what is your approach? You say start simple and what you have.
Yeah.
How does a platform like Watershed help you here? And what is your approach to Scope 3 to get more granular and granular over time?
Yeah, I think that's also something a lot of people, or that stops a lot of people normally, that for some scopes you may have what we call like primary data direct from your suppliers, and for some scopes you may have to use spend-based. For us, that's the case for scope 3.1 and 3.2, like purchase goods and services and capital goods. And it's okay that you have different approaches because, as I was saying before, you just have to start with what you have. I think for us, I mean, if I go back 1 second and speak about the whole scopes, what was amazing from Watershed was that it allowed us to work with the complexity for those categories where we were more advanced, like logistics and transportation. But it also allowed us to fill in the gaps where we weren't performing so well, like in waste. And coming back to the emission factors, for us, we use spend-based for scope 3.1, like the purchase goods and services. And one of our biggest challenges was that a lot of the goods we sell are luxury goods. So of course, spend-based creates a bit of a distortion. And with the different databases that Watershed uses that are supplier specific, like the one from CDP, it allows you to still use this spend-based data, which of course is easier to get the data, but it also allows you to get to that granularity of the analysis that you're aiming for. So it has helped us tremendously.
Okay, great. And you are running a sustainability program basically, and you used different technology before. Now you're using Watershed, which is great. But what were the limitations of other technology? I think there are a lot of people here in the audience that might use different point solutions for different key requirements, I would say. What were your evaluation criteria when you were looking for a new platform? And what were the things where you refused to do any compromises?
Yeah, I think if we start with the limitations, in the software that we were using before, it was not flexible. It was not flexible at all. Meaning, we had to build the data in a way that it was just the way the platform created. So the input data had to be built in a certain way. You weren't allowed to make mistakes, or you weren't allowed to have gaps. For example, if somebody has as simple as a spelling problem, if a lot of our address data is missing, it was a problem for our calculations. Mm-hmm. And with Watershed, it just, like some AI functions that you have just fill in the gaps for you, and it just makes the process so much faster. I think for us also something that was a limitation and something that we weren't willing to sacrifice was that we are very advanced in certain scopes in the way we are doing things and the measures that we're implementing to reduce our carbon footprint, such as in transportation, in like upstream transportation, but also downstream. We have a department that has done great work to not only improve the data that we have, but also to look for alternatives into how to reduce. And that means that, of course, our data has reached a level that we're no longer willing to compromise. And with previous softwares, of course, if the software or if the platform hasn't reached that level of maturity, I would say, then you have to just keep on feeding basic information, and then all of your efforts are not reflected in your carbon footprint efforts.
Okay.
Yeah.
But how exactly does it work when you ingest data into the platform? So where do you save time? Where exactly do you fill gaps? And how does it work? Perhaps you can describe the use case a little bit for the audience.
Yeah, I think the best example is, again, our transportation data. Here we have more than 200,000 lines of data only for this scope. And this meant that if we knew there were some mistakes that, of course, you can always identify or start to identify with doing some plausibility checks or things like this, but it's impossible to check all the data. But with Watershed, I keep on calling it this, they have this mistake layer, as we call it internally, where you just input the data as you have it. It also doesn't matter if your document is built exactly the way Watershed suggests to. Then you just input the data, and the software allows to, or identifies already all the mistakes that it found. It could be formatting, it could be that your zip codes are not there or are wrong and it cannot match it to as a destination. It could be that the way you wrote, to be super specific, the way you wrote diesel fuel is probably not the way that Watershed writes it, but then it just fixes it up with 3 clicks and then you're good to go. So the amount of time it had saved us is incredible.
Perfect. And you told me you're currently also running through an audit. Where does the platform help in particular here to pass the audit or to ensure that you pass the audit and to save your time here?
Yeah, I think first of all is this mistake layer that allows you to identify from the very beginning what is probably not working well. The second one, I'd say, is actually the team of Watershed that has helped us tremendously. The expertise in the technical team. It's not someone that is just trying to sell you something, but someone that speaks your same level, your same expert level, and that is just willing to speak one-to-one to either understand where you're coming from and fixing something in the platform or improving it, or just telling you why there could be a mistake. But also, I think one of the selling points from the very beginning for Watershed, I think you also use that wording, is a platform built by or for auditors. So there's this data lineage when you input the data, but when you also get the results, you could track every step of what a Watershed does. You can click in every source, like the emission factors, the conversion factors. I think it's a dream for auditors. They cannot miss anything. So
the auditors love that you can trace back all the calculations in the platform from the source to emission factor and then the result. Yeah. So we talked a lot about automation, saving time. Of course, everybody is talking about AI out there. We have some AI features baked into the platform, and you tested some of them. Where do you see the most value when you think about data ingestion, analyzing data, or reporting?
Yeah, I think about data ingestion is this part that you already have fully built in, like that AI identifies just the mistakes for you. I think that's a great advantage. And about the new features that we have started to test together, there's 2 points where I see the biggest advantage. The first one is the reports. For example, for us, normally in our capacities for the year, we of course plan the amount of time that we have to spend ingesting the data or analyzing it. But sometimes, as it takes so much time, from our whole year, this whole process, we tend to neglect a bit the capacity of creating reports for our 140 locations to tell them, okay, the data that you gave us this is the result, and this is what we have to do for them. And for us, as you can imagine, creating 140 reports individually is a tremendous amount of work.
Yes.
So this AI agent, where you just give it a prompt and you tell it, this is what I would like to include in my report, and I want one per location, and then you get that in 5 minutes. I think that's the dream.
So you get 140 reports in 5 minutes.
Yeah, and they also look super professional, better than every presentation I have done by myself. And I think the other very good thing is precisely, again, speaking about the audit. Mm-hmm. If you can use this AI agent to tell the platform to spot any anomalies that are in your data. For example, if maybe I pasted the data from one location twice in my input data, and of course, due to the amount of data that I'm handling, I don't see it, and then the platform can tell me there's something that is looking weird in this scope, maybe have a look at it twice. The amount of time it can save for you during the audit is really big. So.
And you said that you also have a team of people that before you ingest data into a platform, whatever platform it is, you have a team that brings it into the right format, right? So you have I think 3 people working on formatting data and Excel files, and I think this is also something that the AI agents could do for you, right? Did you test it already?
I think that's actually one of the capabilities that we had to build because of the previous platform. Yeah. Because we had to create a document in an exact way and with a capital letter here and capital letter there. So we had to build this, but if that's no longer needed, I think it would save us all a lot of time.
Yeah, I think that's the key here, saving time so that you can focus on decarbonization, so what we are all aiming for. And so when you think about your sustainability journey and about decarbonization of Scope 3, what are the goals for the future? So what's coming next for you?
I think for us, speaking about next year, we want to focus on building capabilities in the teams across the locations. We want everyone to understand the importance of giving good quality of information, of data, of understanding the importance of sustainability reporting, but also we are implementing so many measures across every scope. Like as I mentioned previously, our supply chain team is testing so many different ways, like with alternative fuels or, for example, with multimodal transport, they're doing a great job. We're also looking into the efficiency, like resource efficiency of each of our sites to see where we can improve with renewable energy. So I think we're focusing a bit in everything.
And how do you identify these hotspots and these things? How do you plan basically what you want to tackle next?
I think when we have the results of a carbon footprint, that's part of my job, to identify this hotspot and build like a timeline to see what to tackle first. Mm-hmm. But again, if I don't have to spend a lot of time doing that and maybe an AI agent can point me in the right direction, I think that's also, that's great.
Perfect. And how do you, perhaps one question I think you always need to tie what you do to also business value. How do you do it internally to communicate the business value behind all these things to your management?
I think we at Gebr Heinemann we have reached a point where I'd say most of the departments are well informed about the value that it brings to the business. Mm-hmm. And also now we have so many conversations with our suppliers that they also see the value. So I think we're a bit past the point where we probably don't need to make a business case for every measure or new measure that we are proposing. I wouldn't say for any of it, but I think we have reached a point where things are somehow running smoothly.
Perfect. Great. Do we have some questions from the audience to Camila or to me? Julius, did you get some questions for us?
Yes.
Perfect.
We have 2 questions right now. The first question is, when in the source-to-pay process do you collect primary data from the supplier, and what is the trigger?
Mm-hmm. When do we collect primary data?
In the source-to-pay process, yeah.
In the what, sorry?
In the source-to-pay process with the supplier.
I think it's a very individual case-to-case thing, where we have most of the measures. For example, we have reached out individually to suppliers to get the information. I wouldn't say it's a perfectly built process where we get the information directly, so it's mostly relationships with suppliers to get the information.
Yeah. All right.
There's also a lot of supplier data already baked into the platform. So more than 30,000 publicly available supplier-specific emission data. Also, we're partnering with CDP to get supplier information. So without asking every supplier, you have a lot of data already baked into the platform and a lot of information.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you can directly reach out to groups of suppliers or suppliers to collect product carbon footprints or more information on targets and so on.
Yeah, I
be
think
more granular.
that was mostly for transport, but for purchase goods and services, it's everything through watershed. So,
Yeah, I think that's a great fit for the second question, and it's do you use data from your own outlets to model your customers' carbon footprint data?
do we?
That's
Okay,
well the way I would interpret it. Maybe it's also about
perhaps I didn't understand correctly, but
if you use data from your own data outlets to model your customers' carbon footprint.
Yes, it's more I think for you if you use your data of your outlets to produce also carbon footprints for your customers.
I mean, we just have the data as a overall group, and also there's no information that we're passing through because we're just the last step. So
yeah. And then the second part of the question is how do you distinguish between actual data and model data?
I mean, I think
is it
that's
like marked in the system so that you know?
Yeah, I was about to say we have like a previous layer before watershed, which is internal, where we get all the information from our different locations, and they have to specify if it's primary data that comes from like a supplier or if they have done any sort of estimations. And that's something also that you feed into watershed. So it comes directly from the source that we know.
Yeah.
So every data that we are using, for example, to create product carbon footprints based on AI, you always have the full data lineage. So transparency about the source of the data and all the audit logs and audit files in the platform so that everything is auditable.
Camilla, you said in the beginning you should just start with what you have and don't like wait for perfect data. Is that actually enough for, I don't know, audits for if you want to use science-based targets and stuff like that? Is it enough to start with what you have?
I think so, definitely. I mean, first of all, if you wait until everything is perfect, you will never start. And I think as long as you're clear with your previous question of what is primary data, what is secondary data, coming from my very recent experience of an audit, if you're quite clear what did you do to reach this certain number, then everything is fine. And yeah, I think really the best way is just to start.
Yeah.
But I think here it helps also you find platforms out there who don't have a lot of built-in data methodology.
Okay.
I think when you have some primary data and some data and you ingest it into a platform that can help you to fill the gaps and to match the right emission factors, then you can start with something and it's traceable and auditable in the platform as well.
And Stefan, what would you recommend? What's like the company size that should use Watershed? Is it like a certain minimum amount of people?
We are starting most likely with companies with more than 1 billion in revenue. These are our typical
1 billion.
customers. Yeah, 1 billion upwards.
Okay.
These are our typical customers, I would say. And across industries, retail, pharma, manufacturing, travel, so really every industry.
And then you were also talking about how great the technical team seems to be in the background.
Yeah.
What's the model? Is it like software as a service and then you also get some support, or is it consulting? How does it work?
We actually have the platform, the software itself, and a big team of climate experts behind the software. So the software itself and also our AI models are developed by climate experts and data scientists. And we have a customer or climate advisory team also for our customers that can help to go deep into methodology, reporting, and requirements here. So you don't just have the software itself, but a big team of experts behind the software.
2 more questions from our audience. First one is, how is the emission factor selection done? how do you select the emission factor?
I think if we start, for example, for 3.1 and the ones we get from Watershed, they have this amazing feature that is that they use AI to map your suppliers to the suppliers in the platform, and then they link it to, for example, the CDP or CETA. So as long as you bring your data, everything will be there.
We try to get as granular as possible. So starting with spend-based and then supplier-specific and then activity-based and PCFs.
And then when there is AI involved, how do you actually check that it's accurate when you have thousands of lines of data?
Sure, yeah, we make sure because we have a great climate data foundation, and then we have the experts behind the AI to double-check are these results really accurate, of course. So, and we have agents that control the agents. So we can go deeper if you want. We have a booth over there to give you more insights about our sustainability AI features.
Yeah, and I must say also, like, there's this first step that is the mapping with AI, but then the team from Watershed flags everything where they are unsure or where they see there could probably be a mistake, and then you also have the possibility to review everything by yourself. So I think there's too many layers to have too many mistakes.
Yeah. Awesome.
Perfect.
Well, it was a great transition. You were talking about your booth. Where can we find you guys afterwards?
It's over here, F01.
F01.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Big round of applause for Camila and Stefan. Thank you.
Thank you, Camila.